Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marcello Kearns Rain back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-Freemason all day. So this video is going to be basically um, indicating what's going on here in America that some people are not aware of, and some people are aware of, but they internalize, what they sense and everything. So I'm going to speak up for those who internalize things that they sense, and for those who, you know, I'm also going to speak to those who don't know. So in America, I would count back to early as 2018, maybe even 2012. They're using children in war. I'm going to let that resonate. They're using children in war. And how they're using the children in war is through psychological war game Bloodsports. That's what I call it. Psychological war game Bloodsports. So what they do is they choose, for whatever reason, a person who they feel is the enemy, and they place literal children around this person as a way to cut into their path, in a way to accuse them as pedophiles. So they create an arena around them, like a blood sport, like as if back in the days of Rome when they had the blood sports. They create this goofy, glitzy type of war game around particular individuals. They're doing it to more than one person. And what they do is they follow, they I don't know if you guys remember when the internet first kind of hit this sweet spot where um, people started doing flash mobs. I don't know if y'all remember flash mobs. What flash mobs were how people would use the internet and their phones as and they would gather together and decide to go to a particular location. So maybe hundreds of people would say, "We're going to meet. We're going to meet at a park. We're going to meet at Central Park. We're going to meet here," and so they would meet there and do whatever they do. See, but what these Americans are doing, they're using this flash mob type of tactic to um, meet each other at a certain place with the targeted individual that they're targeting. And what they do is they use children in different along the whole path of the person. So if they're going to a grocery store, they'll have children along the way of the grocery store, outside the grocery store, and all the way to the grocery store, inside the grocery store, outside of it when they come out, and all the way back to that person comes home. They'll have all these children used as weapons. And what they're trying to insinuate is that you're a pedophile. What they're trying to make you feel is that that's the psychological effect, is that you're a pedophile. So they try to make you feel self-conscious about it. And so if they make a person, an individual, feel self-conscious enough, that person would think, if they're weak-minded, that maybe I am a pedophile. They're trying, so they do that because, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why they do it, because in this American society, you have people that like thugs, they like gangsters, they even like serial killers. There's people that even like psychotic people, but no one likes a pedophile. Not for the most part. I don't think so. So they use an image that would assassinate you to the entire community that no one likes. This is why they use it. It's not because you're guilty of it. It's because it's an ideal weapon for assassinating you to an entire community, neighborhood or city or state, or and on to a country, because no one likes that type of character. So that's the weapon of choice that they use. And so they use women, they use children, walking around with their strollers, walking around, holding children, and you can tell that it's staged. If you're, I would say mid 30s and up, you've lived long enough to know when something is staged. You know when it's not normal. You know when it's not something you would see in your society. So I've lived long enough throughout the whole country because I've traveled so much. I know when something is not normal. Even with children, people can say, "Well, that's just children." No, 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 no. They're you can tell that when you how it feels on a normal path with children or any other type of entity in your community. You like if there were excessive dogs, you would be like, man, it seems like it's a lot of dogs on my path for some reason. Like that. If there were, I would even say iguanas. It's a whole bunch of iguanas out of nowhere. Like that's not normal in my society. So it's the same thing with children. You look at it, you're like, okay, I know children are around, but this is abnormal. This is not normal. So what they're doing is using their psychological warfare against people here in America. So here's the punchline. This is why their children are cursed. This is why their children are dying. If you look at the news, their children are dying at horrific rates. Their children are just 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 abnormal deaths of their children all of a sudden. And the reason why this is happening is because they have been practicing psychological war games in warfare, if you will, in against their with these children. So in what real war tacticians and real soldiers know is that any weapon whatsoever that you use in war will be broken. I don't care what weapon you use. It's going to be broken. It's going to be broken. Whether it's by soldiers, whoever, and ultimately God. If you're fighting against one of God's people using children, and you think you're gonna just be able to use them and they're gonna get under the radar, I'm sorry to tell you, any weapon you use against God's children, including dogs, anything, it's going to be broken because you have transformed. Hear this part. You have transformed the child into a literal weapon. You have some people say compassion, all this. No, they didn't have any compassion. They were cruel. They were cruel enough to use children as weapons of war. They was pimping out their children for a little money. These people, there's certain other people. See, there's a key core part that does this child psychological war. Um, and there's also people they pay to bring their children out to do this. So they pay. I received intelligence that they pay these people give these people gift cards in actual money, and so they'll come out with their children, and these scavenger like people that are like people that are on government assistance. Those type of guys and women, they'll come out and use their children and for peanuts for $100 here and maybe $200 at the best, and or get gift cards to Target or Best Buy or some department store, and they'll come out and use their children as psychological war. So this explains why this is the foundation, in my opinion, as a prophet, being able to see things that people don't see, being able to hear things people don't hear, being able to perceive things people don't perceive, being able to sense things people don't sense, be able to reveal things people don't reveal or not able to reveal. I believe this is the foundational reason why their children are suffering in the capacity that they're suffering. You can't use anything in war and then expect everything to be all good. And that's the dumb folly of an American. They thinking, oh, well, nothing's gonna happen. It's a child. The child is just blessed and nothing's gonna happen. Unfortunately, that's not true. I can show you in the Bible where God destroyed children. And I know people don't, it's a sensitive topic. I know people don't want to hear it because they have this cotton candy perspective of children. My perspective of children, and I'm not being cold-hearted, but they are human beings. We all were children at one point. They're not magical entities. They're not wizards. They're not elves. They grow up to be adults. Now, if they were stuck as just a child, that's their whole being. The being of a child stays that way. It doesn't grow up. Now I can see your need to have this abnormal or excessive endearment. But for me, I feel it's just another human that's going, an adult waiting to grow up, basically. But I can show you in the Bible where kids were the firstborn. God, in the Passover, if you're familiar with the Passover was all about children, the firstborn. If they did not have the blood on the door, the firstborn being destroyed. That's what it was about. Okay? The firstborn was killed. That's what God did. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you. But if you look in the Bible, the firstborn was destroyed if they did not have the blood on the door, on their front door. And God killed Pharaoh's firstborn. God killed Pharaoh's firstborn, the Pharaoh that interacted with Moses. The Pharaoh that interacted with Moses, God killed his firstborn. So for all you Americans that have this extra sensitive perspective towards children, that's not how that's not how God sees it. That, in God's way is the best way. And actually, in God's perspective, it's just another human being. It's another creature. Another creature. Does he have compassion? Yes, of course. He has way more compassion than you do. But at the end of the day, it's another creature before the Lord. Before the Lord, it's just another creature. To you, it's everything. To you, you feel this certain way about it. But to God, being holy above us all, it's just another human being waiting to grow up. We all were children. And you see how some of these idiots are now? Yeah. So you got to understand that. You got to understand the proper perspective of how God sees it and come on down. Come on down to it. Before you start blaming man or pointing your finger at people that you think are cruel towards children, let's start with the creator, the almighty being. He destroyed children. He took children away from the earth. And let's come down. The prophet Elisha, Elisha, also cursed 42 children. If you look in the Bible, the prophet Elisha cursed 42 children, and 2 she-bears came out the woods and devoured 42 children, and because they were cursing him about his bald head. Now, most people say, you should have just overlooked that. They would have told the prophet, oh, you should have overlooked that. You should have overlooked that. Well, you don't disrespect the authority of God. It's above children. And I know a lot of you Americans, you're a Mickey Mouse, you're in Disneyland. But to be 100, you're not even real about that because you got 44 states with child marriage in here in America. So it's just an artificial, superficial, coat that you carry and wear that you act like you're so much for children and you're not. Let's get that understood as well. right along with what you how you think you feel about children. I'm gonna show you how you feel about children. 44 states is marrying children here in America. That's how you feel about children. Well, if it's not an adult, that's a child. The age of consent is under 18 in 40 states. So that means 40 states are having sex with children. So that's your real perspective. I don't care about your feelings. You basically are passing laws in this country to have sex with children, legal children. That's the bottom line. That can't be disputed. It's a fact. And you can't look to any other country when you're sitting up acting like you're something. You're a protector of children. We talking about you. We ain't talking about other countries. We talking about you walking around, running around like you doing something for children. Like everyone else is the monster but you. So how you not the monster with 44 states marrying children? Not fondling them, marrying them. Yeah, man. Cut the act. Cut the act, please. Okay? The truth is here. The truth is being revealed before the end of the world comes. That's what this all is about. America is being exposed in all the ways that she is for who she really is, as opposed to what you thought she was. That's all it is. It's gotta like the truth has to come to the light. And even with this stuff that happens with these like the psychological war games, these psychological war games had to come to the light. This stuff that they're doing with children had to come to the light. And it's a fact. I put that on everything. This is a fact. This is definitely what they're doing. I've seen it for years. I've seen it for years in American society. I've seen this pattern. I've tracked it for over 4 years plus. I've seen them do this. Police are involved with it. Even maybe National Guard is involved with it. And American society is involved with it. 3 different forces of an American society. Even the government may be, the overall government American government may be involved with it. I'm pretty sure they know what's going on. See, America wanted to be Rome, Italy. They wanted to be Rome, Italy. But they're not as strong and mighty as Rome. They have technology as far as weapons, but they're not, as far as their men and women, they're not as strong as Rome. So that's what we have been dealing with here is people that's using their children in this country as psychological weapons. I know it's sad. And to me, how I see it is, for people to get paid to do it, they're basically pimping out their children. That's how I see it. You put your children in harm's way. How do you know what the guy's going to do? How do you know what the woman is going to do? What if they're on to you and they just snap and decide to kill your child? What you going to do then? You're going to be in regret all your life. I shouldn't have done that for that little bit of money. I shouldn't have did that. Now my child is dead because that person knew what we were doing, and they decided to kill a child. What are you going to say at that? What are you going to say after that? Because people are catching on to it. I'm not the only one. People are starting to see that children are actually being used in psychological war games against let me put it like this. Let's say, okay, for me, right? They'll put it around me, right? So they'll do these routines, like I said. What if I want to go to maybe the grocery store? So as soon as I step out, there might be a child out there for no reason. It just doesn't even look. It looks staged, like a movie. In a movie, in a movie how here in American culture, the movie has to stage a crowd to look like it's a natural appearance of a crowd, right? Like it's a natural setting outside. This is what they do. is they create these natural but artificial synthetic um, crowds and settings that looks natural, but it's not. It's all insinuating specifically pedophilia. Because, like I said, the reason why they use this is because it's a weapon that can produce a image of that nobody in the society accepts. Everybody in the society rejects. So that's why it's a weapon that they choose to use. So, say, like I said, for me, I come out, there's a child outside. I go up the block, there's two children coming across a crosswalk. I come up to another block, there's strollers. It's like after a while you realize no matter what kind of people it is, what tribe it is, none of that matters. You can tell that it's not real. You can tell that it's fake. You go in the grocery store, there's children everywhere. They're watching how you interact with them. This is what these Americans do. And this is what has caused a curse on their children. I think a real curse from God on their children. God has said enough is enough. God has said enough is enough. Okay, you want to be goofy, you want to be Mickey Mouse, then your children get cursed. Bottom line, buddy. And for preachers and Christians that don't think it's biblical, I can show you in the Bible where children were destroyed by the kingdom of God. I can show you. If you think I'm saying something that's outside the Bible, I can show you. But see, you the type of person that don't want to accept that part. You don't want to accept it. So back on me as a person. So what these networking Americans will do, they set up a network around me. So let's say for me. So they'll have networks around my loved ones, my friends, and they'll do the same thing to them. Whether they're in a different state, a different city, even a different country, they will set up this psychological child game around them, and and badger their whole routine, whatever the routine is. How you go to work, my friends, how they go to work. If my friends and family is at the gas station, they'll have children set up there in this weird way, getting gas for work. You go to McDonald's in the morning to get something to eat. They got children there in an excessive way that doesn't feel right. And God has given us human intuition, and that's what these people don't realize is that, okay, you can act like it's normal. You can act like I'm supposed to think it's normal, and I'm supposed to act normal, but I don't supposed to act normal when God is telling you, when my intuition that God has given me is telling me it's not normal. See, that's the level I'm on. Like you can say I'm supposed to act normal. I don't supposed to act normal. And that's where they try to incriminate you right there. Well, you supposed to act normal. I don't supposed to act normal. If you're doing something abnormal, I don't care if you're using children or whatever you're using. You can believe using balloons. I don't care what you're using. If my intuition, my human intuition tells me that you're doing something abnormal, I'm the type of person that can read between the lines, whether you're using children, you're using animals, you can use a spider. I don't care what it is you use. I have a strong sense of intuition, not paranoia, and it tells me, my intuition that God has given me to protect me from people like you tells me that you're doing something on purpose. It's telling me you're doing it on purpose. And I don't care what you say. You can't fool me. You cannot fool me. You have not fooled me. You have not. So I say this for people that maybe don't have that strong intuition, and you may just be kind of like being humble around this stuff that they're doing because they're involving children. So that's what they want to see you do. Lower your head. I ain't lowering my head. I'm going to walk right up, my head up. I'm going to walk right up on my path. I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to keep it moving. And you're not going to be acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that you're trying to play a war game. You know, like it's not gonna work. So for all you guys that's going through it, know that obviously you're not a pedophile. You know you're not a pedophile. You know you're not. Because the bottom line is if you're not having sex with children, if you're not touching them, then you're not a pedophile. You don't have to worry about that. That's the bottom line. If they ain't got no crime, then obviously you can't be looked at as one who does a crime with children. So don't let people fool you. You feel what you feel and you're right. This is what it is. But I'm telling you exactly what it is. It's psychological war games using children as weapons, and it's now come to the end of it. Now that's why you look at the news and all you see is kids dying. All you see is uh, kids being just beat up by people. Like men out of nowhere are punching little kids. They're punching them. They're fighting them and everything. It's just abnormal stuff, and it's because these Americans, I don't care what group they belong to. That's the thing about me, because I've had it up to here with Americans in general. So I don't differentiate. You may differentiate because maybe you have a love for this country, or you may have some type of endearment with this country. I look, they're all Americans to me. And that's why judgment is coming on America. They are Americans. You'll say, well, it's not. It's them, but they're Americans. They got social security numbers. That's here in America. They have driver licenses that are American. They have IDs that are American. They are American to me. So guess what that means? While you're trying to differentiate, they're going to bring destruction and judgment from God on your American community. They're American. They're not, whether they say they're whatever they are, they're American. And if America is not able to handle their citizens, I don't care. Like, look, you're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. If you can't handle your citizens, God will. I'm going to let that resonate. If you can't handle your citizens, God will handle your citizens. Okay? I'm just letting you know. Because ain't nobody, look, no human being, whether man, woman, or child, cannot be used as weapons of war, and there is no repercussions. Look, I have a mature perspective on humanity. You need to get a true mature perspective on humanity, because if you think you can just roll around and do what you want to do with any part of humanity and think that nothing's going to happen, you have, in my opinion, an immature perspective of humanity. Because I can show you in the Bible. You can call it cruel, you can call it whatever you want. This is the world you live in. This is the universe you live in. You want a world that just bows down and worships children, then you need to go to Venus. You need to create your own. You need to create your own society in Venus or something. Mars. They're working on Mars anyway. Go there with that. But here on Earth, in God's world, no entity is held above just and righteous actions. In a righteous, no entity is held above what is right. So you cannot use any entity doing wrong and expect nothing to happen to the entity that you're using. It's not going to work. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. In this universe, in this real world we live in, connected to spirituality, connected to God, if you use any entity as a weapon of war, it will be destroyed. I'm just letting you know. I don't make the rules. I can show you the Bible where this happens. I don't make the rules. See, some of you hate Christians, but you think you love God. And the Christians is telling you what God said. But you go love you so-called love God, but you hate the Christians for saying what God said. That part. Yeah, I'm just telling you what it says. I'm just telling you what God does. And I believe it is just because nothing is above what is right. No entity is above what is right. That's the bottom line. Me, you, children, and women, no one is above what is right. Like where you can just do anything and just with anything and no. That is going to be brought down to earth. It's going to be brought down to soundness of society, soundness of mind, whatever you're using. It's going to be brought down. And that's why you have the society and the results that you have here in America right now, currently. That's what it is. I'm telling you. And you can sit up and toil with it and you can think about other scenarios, but that's what it is. And the bottom line is God has destroyed children before. If you don't think that's what it is now, well, the bottom line is God has destroyed children before, which means there is no entity that is above him. There is no entity, no creation that is held in esteem above God. Now, in your world, hey, your child might be God. It's the purest thing you ever seen. It's the most beautiful thing you ever seen. But it's not above God to servants of God. To me, children are not the most beautiful thing I ever seen. The most beautiful thing I ever seen was God.